from this book have saved me from what would have been career suicide. I was about taking some decisions, but because of some things I read in this book, it really helped me. Then also, I think I must thank you one day, because also after the book, she didn't just sell the book, she was also accessible. So I needed to take a decision at a point in time. I put a call to her. I think I was in the airport then traveling. Little minutes we spoke, I knew I had insight. I also had I needed a connect. I got it from her. And I can tell you this book is wonderful. The funny thing I've done, which I've not done too well, but it's characteristics of me, is that after I got this book has gone around 4 or 5 hands. My copy has gone around 4 or 5 hands, which I think I should have done better by buying for them. Right. I mean, there was a day I was traveling down to Lagos, and right from the airport, while in the plane, I had a leading to go and give this book to a colleague's husband, that she must read the book. I mean, this book is excellent. It's excellent. And I think because for me, it's something I go through from time to time again. Thank you. We look forward to part 2. In line of Japan current trends, we look forward to something more trendy. But I can tell you this book is a life manual. Thank you. We look forward to part 2.
Thank you so much, Muiwa. So before we move to the next people, some have sent it in writing. Do we have anyone in the audience that you don't need to put on your video, you can just unmute your mic and say something? Okay, so going, and then if no one, then let me just move to the next person. Anyone? Okay, let's not waste time then. So we're going to move to other reviews from, did anyone mute their mic? Okay. So I'm going to call on Timmy. Timmy is going to read some reviews from other people who sent in theirs before we actually move into the discussion. So over to you, Timmy.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this anniversary launch of the Career Handbook. Okay, so we have a review from Emmanuel, who is an executive at one of the top firms here, and he says the all-inclusive Career Handbook is the ideal resource for anyone hoping to realize their dream of becoming a world-class professional. Reading the great testimonies and experiences, an in-written practical CV writing workshop, learning about the abilities required to succeed at work, and numerous helpful career development advice are all included. It was so wonderful. I purchased 2 more for my friends. Good things ought to be shared anyway. Thank you very much. And then we have another one, review from Deborah, who is an entry-level professional. And she said she got a copy of the handbook in April. And from then to now, one major thing has helped her, which is establishing a career identity. She said, this stood out for me because I got to understand that apart from my career, working with someone, I also owe it to myself to be the best at what I can do, understanding that there are other parts of my life which people must see apart from my career, and I must also work on my weaknesses to be a better person. So those are the 2 reviews we have, one from Emmanuel and the other one from Deborah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Timmy. Timmy, if you know me with Career Life and you don't know Timmy, then probably you don't know Career Life at all. She's the backbone for Career Life. She's a community manager for Career Life, and she's been amazing. Anyway, I don't know, because God has just blessed me with like good people around me. So we're going to move to the main. Like I said, I don't want us to spend more than an hour, 30 minutes, if possible less. Right. So we're going to be starting with the first session. Right, and testimonials can come afterwards. If you have, please drop it in the comment section, and you know that you want to say something, or you can just drop your review there. So the first person I will be speaking about effective salary negotiation, what you need to know. And this person is a millennial, right? And works in the tech space, knows what happens in the tech space. And I would like, it's with great pleasure, let's unmute our mic and let's welcome Emmanuel Faith as he comes up to the stage and takes us on this topic. Welcome, Emmanuel.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Super delighted to be here. Thank you, Yewande, for inviting me. When you were doing the introduction, I was saying, please, I'm not senior yet. Please, I'm looking up to Yewande and Teju. I'm a big fan of everyone that was invited, by the way. I follow Teju's content, and I recently stopped good across, HR ladies content, and I find it really fascinating, right? I think I spent 30 minutes on her page the first day I saw her page, so please follow her. I hope that she shares her handle when she comes online. Yeah, so hi everyone, thanks for joining. Yeah, I have my copy, and I think everybody here should get a copy and get with your friends. I'll probably buy like 3 or 4 more by month end when salary enters, and just give people that ask me different advice. So yeah, I'm supposed to talk about salary negotiation, and I don't know why Yewande picked this topic and gave me this part, because I'd gone through the book and I saw some exciting topics that I would have gladly speak, but yeah, let's talk about salary, how to get the dues, how to get 7 figures, right? I think I should really start by delving into what Yewande has shared, because the first point she talked about was about net pay and gross pay, and I think that's fascinating. But just to rewind a bit, I want everybody to know, either you're like a mid professional or senior professional, or you're like entry level, when you are negotiating salary, always remember you're a person of value, right? So you are negotiating based on the value you're bringing to the table. And I'm going to be talking as an HR professional and also a talent. So that means that I'm talking as a recruiter and then as someone who is being recruited. So before I've seen very, very interesting incidences. I remembered there was someone that, we interviewed, that was last year, and, she came in and, we said, what's your salary expectation? And she named a salary expectation, and it took 200% self-control for me not to laugh. That the team lead actually went mute. Immediately she turned off her video and went on mute. I knew she went to laugh, right? Because what she was asking for was ridiculously low. One was about less than 50% of what that role was at career-wise. And what the message I got was she had not researched at all about career-wise, right? Of course, we offered that we didn't pay her what she asked for, right? We paid her what's that role, the pay that role, the pay apportioned for that role, but she earned less than other guys that interviewed on her role, because you know how it is, it's a pay grade. So a pay grade can be 200 to 300. So that means someone can earn 200 or 250 or 300. So imagine that a pay grade is 200 to 300, and then someone is saying, oh, just pay me 80,000 or pay me 100,000, I'm happy. Right? So it was ridiculous. So, and that's why I'm starting with the fact that you have to realize at every point that you are having conversations, that you are a person of value and you are having discussion based on the value you are bringing to the table. And trust me, if that's the only thing you gain for the next 15 minutes, I'm happy. So narrowing down, the first point Yewande talked about here was knowing the difference between net pay and gross pay. Normally, some HR people are callous, but normally when I'm handling conversations as a recruiter, when I say, what's your salary expectation and the talent names, right? I say, is that net or gross? Because I want to confirm and I want to be sure that I'm not misleading you, right? And I used to tell them that, I can write you a gross salary of 1 million and 1 million naira, because I know some people in the USD. So I can write you, a net of 1 million naira, and your take home will be 580,000. Don't worry. That's why I have taken courses in compensation and benefits, to be able to do these things and bobo you, right? So you're going to say 1 million, but your take home is 580 or 600, right? So It's always very important. Either no matter the currency you are negotiating with, even if it's a foreign company or maybe a company foreign company domiciled in Nigeria, when they say, oh, because I've had those kind of conversations with you. So they say, oh, we are not domiciled in Nigeria, so we don't pay PAYE and XYZ. Ask them, what is my take home? I want to see the breakdown. It is very important, guys. I won't say go and research about the difference between net pay and gross pay because not everybody can understand the nitty-gritty. But I would say when you have conversations, always ask like, what is my take home, right? So the second thing that Yewande talked about, so I'll just be modifying it. So she talked about asking about other benefits that the company offers. So like, I rephrase that to negotiate on other benefits. So someone has tried to poach me before, right? And, the person was offering something really nice. And I said, yo, I want stock options. You can't pay me what I want to earn, right? You can't pay me enough to live career-wise. So it's fine. You want me to work in your company? Give me stock options. I've studied your product. I know your product will scale, and stuff. So I want stock options. And, the guy went. And of course, I told him that because I know he wouldn't give me stock options. But if we had agreed to that, maybe I would have gone, So always research about what other benefits would come handy, for you. So what do they have in place? Do they have performance bonus, for instance, depending on the kind of role, for example, if it's a sales role or a marketing role or a role that relates to commercial, maybe CFP, commercial relations and stuff. Do they pay performance bonus? What's their performance bonus like? Do they pay quarterly? Do they pay annually? I remember, now I'm talking as a recruiter. I remembered one time someone had applied for a job and she got to the final round and we're talking negotiation. And she was like, oh, this net salary looks really good, but when I aggregate, it's less than what I'm earning. So I'll use approximate figure. So let's say we were offering her 600,000 naira. And where she was coming from, she was earning 400,000 naira. But she had quarterly bonuses that when she spread across over 12 months, it was more than what Carrywise was offering her. And like, I was very impressed actually, because it shows that one, she understood the concept of negotiation. Two, she had an encompassing understanding of benefits. So she say, oh, you guys are offering me more. I mean, 50% more than I'm earning right now, but you guys don't pay performance bonus. So I'm sorry, even though this offer looks good, it is not good for me, which is like the third point. An offer can look good and it is not good for you. I'll say that again. An offer can look good and it is not good for you. So when we are doing onboarding at Carrywise, I facilitate onboarding. There's a funny question that I ask people when I want to talk about benefits. So I say, oh, which would you rather prefer? A 0.01% of Carrywise shares or an immediate 50% increase in your salary? Of course, people always speak shares, right? Until one day there was this guy that said, immediate increase in salary. And like, I was astounded. And I said, why? He said, brother, I'm a family man. Every money right now, I don't know what will happen tomorrow. It's the money that I want right now that matters. And like, it was hilarious, but that's what mattered to him at that point, right? So every offer that looks good might not be good for you. So always have like an encompassing understanding of the benefits that are available. Are there bonuses? What's their 13th salary like? What's their leave allowance? What's the percentage of their 13th salary? Do they pay 100%? Do they pay 50%? Do they pay 75%? Do they pay leave allowance? Ask these questions. Again, remember that you are negotiating from a perspective of value. There's another chapter where they talked about, the value you bring to the table, don't stand desperate and all those things. You are not desperate, even if you are. Maybe we need to understand that like team leads and like recruiters and HR need the talents as much as the talents need the company. I feel like when we get that into our mindset, it would also help us negotiate. So while in your mind you are desperate, that company said they are desperate to get you, right? So always remember that like power is in your hand, and you are like power, because power is in your hand, you can make demands, right? You can ask as many questions as possible before you accept offer, because immediately you sign, I mean, except it's an offer that has 3 months probation where you can give 2 weeks notice and quit. Immediately you sign, like you've signed. That's the next thing. Okay, so the next point, which is not here, Help recruiters understand, or whoever is coaching you or reaching out to you, or if it's an interview process, help people understand why you deserve what you're requesting for. So I'll try, I don't know the components or like the demography of our participants, so I will use like 2 illustrations. So say you're applying for a role of maybe finance manager, or financial controller. So you got it to the final round. Now, maybe the role says 5 to, in the job description, they said 5 to 8 years experience, must this, and this is another thing, please always read job description. People do not read job description, I don't know why. Read job descriptions to the last letter. I feel like I should have to type it out and say it. If this was a physical class, I would have said, look at your neighbor. I said, neighbor, read job descriptions. So always read job descriptions to the last full stop. That's why HR take out time. See, I spend average of 60 minutes writing job description for a role. So there's a reason why we spend time to write those job descriptions. So it's your duty to read those job descriptions. So say a role says, 5 to 8 years experience, must have ICANN or ACCA. It will be a plus if you have CFA. Now, so here you have ICANN, you have ACCA, and you have CFA. When you are negotiating, that CFA is a value add, and you should let them know. Because what the job requires is that the candidate should have either of ICANN or ACCA. But here you have ICANN, you have ACCA, and you have CFA. So when you're negotiating, like that's extra value you're bringing to the table. I remembered I shot my shots at one company for the fun of it recently. And, so I've not interviewed in a long while. So I've not interviewed for like 12 months. So I'm a lawyer talent. So there was this company that my friend said was recruited. I'm like, let's have fun. So I sent them an email, and I was sure they would call me back, because the way I sold myself, I said every startup needs a builder and a seller. Luckily for you, I'm both. That was the first thing the CEO asked me when we had the chat. Said, tell me about being a buyer and being a builder and a seller. So always remember, like when you read through the JD, always know like where your negotiating power is, right? Because sometimes recruiters don't see these things. Sometimes even the hiring manager don't see these things. I remember we hired an iOS person who was coming from, where did he come from? I think NIMS or something. And so he was saying, this is what I want to earn. And I went, we have a nice culture, blah, blah, blah. We will increase your salary in 3 months if you outperform. How HR used to boo people now. And I said, do you forget I'm coming from a payments infrastructure to come and work on an infrastructure to help you build payments? I said, deep. So like this guy is coming from NIBS, right? NIBS is, for those not in fintech, like NIBS is like one of the major infrastructure that facilitate payments in Nigeria. And like we are career-wise, right? Even though we are not a payments company, there's a part of our products that is payments that pay out to customers. So that's like free experience. It is definitely better than hiring like an average, iOS engineer that is as sound as he is, because he's also coming with the fintech knowledge, with the API and interface and all those things. Of course, we paid him what he wanted, and like he's here today. So always, negotiate on the extra value that you bring to the table, and let people say that, this is the extra thing I'm bringing, and this is why I'm asking for this amount. Yeah, so understand stakeholders. So depending on who you are conversing with, I've chatted with talents before, and they will say, do you know what? Send my profile to your CTO. I'm like, okay. And then, I download their CV and I said to the CTO, and the CTO probably understands a lot of things on their resume that I don't understand, right? So when you are telling the person that told me that, for instance, understood that I'm speaking to the HR who does not know the difference between Django and Python, or, who does not know what C++ and HTTP is. But I do not need to be speaking to the HR. I need to be speaking to the chief engineer. And he says, if you want me, pitch me to your CTO. You shouldn't be the one having conversation with me. Your CTO should be. It sounded OT, but like this guy knows what he's doing. So sometimes you need to find out, who is the stakeholder here? Some HR reach out to you and like they are not the stakeholder. Some CEOs reach out to you and they are not even the stakeholder. Maybe the senior product manager is the stakeholder, right? So you have to always find out what the stakeholder is, because that sort of gives you insight into how to negotiate and like from what perspective you should negotiate from. Also understand constraints. The company that reach out to me, that I tell them that like, you people can't pay my bills. Of course, I don't tell them that they can't pay my bills. I just say, I'm sorry, I'm not looking to move right now. I can recommend candidates, or because of course I have like loads of colleagues of HR always looking to move. But because I just size up the company, I'm not even talking down on them. I just like, no, don't let me even stress these people or waste this recruiter's time. They can't pay my bills. There are some companies that, you know, I just feel like I will not fit in because of the demography of people they have, right? So immediately they reach out to me, and that's the thing. Sometimes we are lazy too, we don't research. I go to their career page, you know, see the kind of people. Sometimes I even go extra mile and then search for these employees on LinkedIn. And then like, I just gauge the demography. I'm like, no, you know, I don't want to work with this. Like I can, for example, except it's like a Google or Amazon or Facebook, I don't think that I can work in a company where 60% of the demography are over 40. I will be lost. I don't think so. You know, I've worked with youths all my life. I think when you were there was a transition, said I'm a millennial. People call me the Gen Z HR, right? So like, I like my talent, vibrant and energetic, right? So I just like, you know, tell them straight up, you know, this is a constraint for me, you know, it's salary is ready. I remember one company wanted to poach me one time, and the company was Aleki. So the net pay they were offering was good. So I don't just plus or minus, and I asked them, sorry, do you have company car? They look like, no. Yeah, of course, I didn't expect you to. I'm sorry, I stay at Ikeja. I cannot take public transport. I cannot take BLT. I do not have car. So it's either you people bump up this net salary or you get me a car. Of course, I knew that they will not come back, but like I just specifically told them that like, you. Now, you do not have to reject every offer. I have to clarify that. You can accept an offer that has a constraint. For example, when I joined CareerWise, so like I moved to CareerWise from GE. GE was a multinational. So like starting my career in GE was supposed to be like a pedestal. And some of my friends did not understand why I would leave GE that was a multinational to CareerWise. But I was very early in my career. I wanted a place where I could do everything and anything together and lay my hands on a lot of things and make a lot of mistakes and get it done and get it right by myself. And that's why I took that move. It wasn't exactly like horizontal, it was sort of vertical, but I am not bragging. I dare say what I've done in 2 years, in some companies, I probably will not do it in 5 years, right? So I understood that coming to CareerWise was a constraint. You know, there's no travels here. Since I joined CareerWise, I've only gone out of Nigeria once. Versus G, where today you're in South Africa, tomorrow you're in Kenya, next tomorrow you're back to Abuja, then Lagos. So like, I understood those constraints, but I also understood what I wanted. And I felt like if I take this offer, I will get what I wanted, which was in-depth, getting my hands dirty in every part of HR, right? So sometimes those constraints exist, you acknowledge them and you don't necessarily reject the offer because you also look at other benefits. Remember when I said that a good offer might not be good to you, and then like what's a bad offer to someone might be good to you. Rounding up, think through the timing. So their peak period, for example, this is a peak period because a lot of talents have changed from +234 to +44. I'm +235, I'm +252. I was telling my friend that, sorry, you think people are moving to UK, people are also moving to Kenya and Rwanda and South Africa. So it's not even just UK alone. Just this month, this is October, I have 5 friends that have moved to either Rwanda or Kenya. Just this month, today's 15th, right? So it's a peak time for you if you're a talent. So the kind of negotiation you would have now is probably better than the kind of negotiation you will have next year March. Because by next year March, you know, companies are stable, they have higher talents between September and January, and they have decided that this talent is what will take us to half year at least, right? So I'll also look at the timing. For example, if you're a law graduate, immediately after law school is not exactly a time to be picky because the market is flushed with oversupply of talent. But when it's like mid-law school, or maybe a time that people are just matriculating to Oxford and Harvard, like they are doing right now, a lot of senior associates have left, you know, the top firms and they have gone for their masters in these top unis. That's a perfect time for you to negotiate because they have constraints. There's a time constraint. So also think through the time of negotiation. There are a lot of things. I was even going to share like 1 or 2 links on like salary negotiations, but if there's anything I want you to take away, the first is that you're a person of value. So always negotiate from that perspective that I am bringing value to the table. The second thing is sell yourself. Let the recruiter or the hiring manager see why you're asking for these things. We are very humble in this country, and like it's not our fault. We were raised that way. You know, we are raised to say thank you. I remember someone reached out to me recently, and like I named a price, and when I was done, I was telling my friend that, yo, I didn't know where that boldness came from. I just named it. And like they didn't even say no. That was the thing. That was the interesting thing. The interesting thing wasn't the amount I raised. that I named, the interesting thing was like, they did not say no. They said, oh, we'll discuss and get back to you. And like, they did get back to me. So we are very humble in this country. Please do not be humble when you're having conversations. Do not be outrageous, please. Don't be an entry person and be asking for 1 million naira. No, I'm not saying that. Be very realistic, look at industry. Hey, Jesus, thank you, Holy Spirit. Sorry if you're not a Christian. Lastly, very importantly, please look at industries when you are negotiating too. So practical illustration, and I'm not shading any industry. You would earn better as an HR professional. So I'll use my profession. As an HR professional, you will earn better in the tech space than an FMCG place. And I'm talking from like, this is a fact. If you have 4 years experience in a startup tech versus 4 years experience in an FMCG, you would earn more, except you are working with an FMCG like British American Tobacco or AB InBev. If it's all these Unilever, P&G, I'm not shading them. I have friends there. A tech, an HR, a senior HR person in tech will earn much more, right, than a person in FMCG. And I don't even want to talk about other industries that I don't even pay at all, like media and stuff. So also look at the industry. I'm not saying like tech is the best place. There are amazing industries. For example, the fashion, like fashion, like Lagos Fashion Week kind of fashion. Those guys pay a lot. I have a friend that is like an HR person in one fashion company that like pitches at Lagos. Like she's earning good 7 figures, right? And she just has 3-4 years experience. So tech is not like the only place. But the message is that industry also matters when you're negotiating, right? So with this 3 points of mine, first, I hope that you pick, you want this book and read. If you've read it, buy it for people. Secondly, I hope that you realize that you're a person of value when you're negotiating and you are not shy to sell yourself during conversations. Thank you for listening. I'm sure I kept to
Thank
time.
you. Wow. I've written out so many things, right? And thank you so much, Emmanuel. I don't know, Faith is your first name. If you don't even know the difference.
No,
Yeah,
I'm used to both.
people are already clapping for you. If you've not gotten something from this session, then I don't know, something else may be wrong, right? So many things I took from this, and that's why this is very important. 1 year after, is getting other people's perspective. An offer can look good, but may not be good for you. I've been privileged to, when friends want to accept offers, they are asking me to review. And there's one thing that, when HR people, we are the ones that used to cook these beans. And they'll tell you they are giving you performance 13th months, right? And they'll tell you 50%, or they'll tell you 50% of your basic, but they will not give you the breakdown of your salary. And I'm like, and it looks good to you. In my mind, I'm like, you can be earning 1 million and they put your basic as 100,000. They will housing 50,000, transport 75,000. They will now put a dress allowance, dressing allowance.
They use it for tax.
800,000. In your mind, you don't know what they are doing. So my advice: always give an HR person that knows about. If you're not even sure, ask for breakdown. Like, let them break it down for you. All this, and we do it too. So everybody here has been guilty of trying to trick people, but the truth is not all that glitters is gold. And that's one of the things Emmanuel has spoken about. And then, one thing you also said is understanding your industry. I would like to, I've made that mistake before, right? I think I made that mistake before. I was thinking that, okay, this is the range. But always ask people. Don't assume that you are getting a 40% increase, right? That industry may pay times 3, because when you get to that industry, you'll squeeze your blood out. You will work the money, but and then you will not get there and realize that this work that I thought that I was working there, I've not been working. Now I'm going to work, but I'm now getting, and you now realize everybody is earning like times 2 or times 3 of what you earn, but you think that should be contentment is okay, and they are cheating you. So always ask people within that industry. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. We have someone is here. The person that wrote the foreword of this book, Funke Amobi, is here, and I know the next session is Adewumi, but I'd like to ask for I don't know if she's open to talk. I don't think I told her or anything, but just if you have something to say, she's my mentor. I remember a role that I took, right? And I told her, I took this role. She's like, go and negotiate the title. I didn't even know that you could negotiate title. when you don't have people, you think you know. And I think this was after I wrote this book, so I'm sure you can know what I'm talking about. When you have people in your corner, you think you know until you realize that people know, and they know more than you with years of experience. So I'd like to call Mrs. Effie, if you have something to say. If not, you can speak to the end. I don't know if you want to say something. And she's the one I wrote the foreword of this book. So in the past, maybe 1 year, 1.5 years, I've known her. It's been amazing. Okay, she's.
Hello, you and Dave. Trust you to put me on the spot. Okay, let me start by congratulating all protocols duly observed, but I'd like to still formally recognize all the speakers. So all the speakers and all the panelists duly acknowledged. Thank you very much. UND, congratulations on the all-inclusive handbook. Congratulations. 1 year is a long time as an author, to have your book in the marketplace and in the hands of, those who need to read all that you have written. So thank you very much indeed for organizing yet again another, should I put another first? Because when she told me she was going to do a 1 year anniversary, I'm like, UND has come again. What's the 1 year anniversary of a book? Come on. So it's another first. So well done. I'm an author myself, and I wish they had done a 1 year anniversary of my book in the marketplace. So thank you again for also broaching very important career nuggets and career matters for people to consider. And UND is really, really spot on. And the other two speakers as well, spot on in saying that you must continuously take ownership of your career, and there are decisions will be more, at different levels. It would have different degrees of clarity, different degrees of risks. Okay, so at every point in time, you must be able to assess what is required. Sometimes the requirement is that you're agile, simply just agile and just ready to deal. Sometimes the requirement is that you're fact-finding. You must just deep dive and fact-find maybe about the company, the organization, or the industry, or even about the people you're going to work with. I'm not a speaker on the ground, so I'm not going to steal your time, but I'd like to just share with you what I call the 4 C's, or I call it the 4 context of an organization that you need to pay attention to when you're taking an appointment. UND and all the speakers have said things to you like, be sure about the offer, understand the numbers, and all of that, which is brilliant. But beyond that, particularly when you move to the senior levels, in my mind, there are 4 context areas you should pay attention to, and I call it the EPIC model, EPIC. So when you remember EPIC, you remember it. And E stands for emotional, P stands for political, I stands for intellectual, and C stands EPIC model, emotional, political, intellectual, and my C is what now? I'll come to you shortly. But emotional is about what is the emotional context of the organization. There are sometimes things packed in places, for you to go and unpack. So just get ready. If the organization is emotionally drained, or there are people in your environment that are emotionally drained, maybe somebody acted in the role before you got there. That's the most common example. Somebody acted in the role before you got there, and the person is emotionally dashed, feeling that I should have had that job. Why did they give it to you? Pay attention to that, because it may get in your way of being able to settle into that job properly. The political terrain is very easy. Every organization has its political terrain. Whether you like it or not, you have to pay attention to that. If you're not mindful politically, the politics will take hold of your mind. You must be mindful to understand what's going on, politically in the environment. And then intellectually, you must understand your ranking and your rating in that sphere. You must be able to say to yourself, you know what? This is an intelligent organization. This is an organization where the shelf life of knowledge is X number of years. Okay, when you say the shelf life of knowledge is X number of years, essentially what you're saying is, in this organization, I need to be able to, I think I hope you're still hearing me because my internet is dwindling. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Switched off so that you can, it's saying that it's unstable. So what you are doing is asking yourself, what's the shelf life of knowledge in this organization? Shelf life of knowledge in the organization means what? It means, when do you need to go back to school? When do you need to reactivate yourself? Because actively, people around this organization, knowledge is valid only for X number of years. What it means is that if knowledge is valid for X number of years and you've come in maybe with a first degree, you must know when it's time to go back to school. Or you'll be stuck. Believe me, if you don't know when it's time to go back to school, you just find yourself stuck trying to fix things because you are, how do I call it? You're obsolete. You're in the obsolete category. Okay. And the C is the cultural context of the organization. What are those behaviors that matter? Those behaviors that matter may not be the behaviors that you are absolutely confident with and comfortable with. You may have to reshape your thinking and reshape the behaviors that you put forward in the workplace, because those are the behaviors that matter. It matters to speak up. It matters to, it matters to take ownership. It matters to be proactive. You just must figure out what are those vital behaviors that matters to succeeding in this organization. So just think around the epic 4 contexts or buckets: emotional, political, intellectual, and cultural context of the organization. And then you settle into a wonderful job and you're able to gain as much career satisfaction as possible. Permit me to take a leave. I'm still going to be here. I'm just going to be listening. I'll be in the background and listening to all the excellent contributions. Thank you again, and congratulations, you and Dave. As I said in this book, in the foreword, I commend this book and I recommend it. And it doesn't matter how long you've been in your career, to be honest, you always need career helpers. And this is a tool that would help you. If you don't have a copy, get one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I know I wasn't just gassing. Can you see the textbook that I've written down in just like 10 minutes? Well, it's never, if you listen to Mrs. Evie in 5 minutes, you've literally just sat down in like a 10-hour class. And thank you so much for the knowledge shared. I really appreciate it. And
congratulations again.
If you've learned, please drop comments in the comment section, and thank you so much. Again, please follow on LinkedIn, follow on Instagram, follow on Facebook. Beyond what she said, she also drops like so many other things. So you, if you're not following her, like, you're missing out on a whole lot. So we're going to move to the next speaker, Adewumi Alfonso. She's going to be talking about what employers and recruiters want. Now, there's what you think employers and recruiters want versus what they really, really want. And so she's going to be breaking that down. And let's welcome Adewumi Alfonso, your HR Lady series. Is she here?
Okay, good afternoon. Please confirm you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much, Yewande, for the opportunity. Fantastic book. And what you've asked me to talk about is the major reason why your HR Lady series exists. As a recruiter, I mean, we are quick to say, I've not found the right people. I've interviewed 1,000,001 people. Nobody seems to fit and all of that. And my response to what are you doing about that problem was what gave birth to your HR Lead. Yeah, so what employers and recruiters want. So firstly, I'll be discussing this from a broader perspective. So I'm not just looking at it from when you're about to get your foot in an organization. I would also be talking about even after you've gotten the job, there's still something that's expected of you. There's something the employer wants of you, right? So in Yewande's book, the first thing she talked about was how you fit into the organizational culture, the culture of the organization, which in summary, just like the behavior in the workplace. As individuals, we have our values, and our values shape our behaviors. The same thing applies to organization. They have their values. But one thing is important that I want us to bear in mind. So yes, the values you see on the website and the social media pages are an indication of the kind of behaviors that the organization wants its employees to have. But most of the time, there's always a slight deviation in reality. So then, as somebody who is looking for a job, what am I looking out for when I want it to be a culture fit? Don't mind me, I'll be as practical as possible to drive this thing home and for us all to understand what we are talking about. So an organization has a value or a culture around ownership or leadership. They want every employee that joins to be self-led, a leader, and can take ownership of their work. So as a recruiter, what am I looking out for? When I'm talking to you, for instance, how I assess these things, the very little things you say, I'm able to pick if you're going to be a great culture fit or not. I once interviewed a candidate, and each time the candidate is referring to our current organization, she would say, that's how they are. That's how they do. I was confused, like, okay, so it's you versus them. Our culture wants people that take ownership. Just from the way you have talked, I can easily pick out there's no ownership in you, because you are referring to your current employer as them, that's how they are. You are a part of them, you're in that organization, ownership. So this little cues and pointers you should be mindful. You've been invited to an interview. Before I even invite you, it means your resume communicates to a large extent you have experience. But then you do the interview and still get a rejection. And in your mind, you answered every technical questions correctly. So what still went wrong? So these little things, you should pay attention to them. How then do you know the culture of a place? Yes, you will still need to go to their pages, their websites, and all of these things. But you need to really be mindful of how you communicate, the things you say. Also, you and they talked about how you answer questions, right? Particularly maybe whatever question. So I have this approach, which is a very popular approach, where I just added a little bit of spice to it for me. When you get to an interview, any kind of question you are asked, the main aim is, I want to know your thought process, how you reason. There's a problem, definitely, which is what will be presented to you. So in communicating your response, you have to be articulate. And to do that, I always leverage the STAR approach. So we are familiar with the STAR approach: situation, task, action, and results. I just added a small E to it, which is the enablers. So I call it the STAR approach. And so what this means is, when you are asked a question, you start from, okay, what's the situation? What's the problem? Okay, the problem is a company is not making sales. So what am I supposed to do? Which is your task. I'm supposed to build or generate sales as a salesman, for instance. That's the task. So what action will I take? Okay, I'll get a customer pipeline, then I'll engage my customers or develop some form of policies. Then your results, the enablers. So as a recruiter, when you're answering that kind of question to me, adding that extra E to your STAR approach is important, because that is what determines if you'll be able to repeat that success. Say, for instance, whatever policy or process you took, great. But if one of your enablers, you didn't get, for instance, management buy-in, it's definitely going to fail. So when I'm asking you such a question, using that approach in responding to me, communicates clearly, because at interviews, I'm asking you maybe what you've done before or what you would do in a particular situation. So that approach helps you have clearer thoughts, and it gives you opportunity to touch every aspect of what the recruiter wants to hear. So if I see the flow, how you address the situation, and the enablers, the things you leverage that help to ensure that success was achieved, then I know, oh, this candidate will definitely be able to do this again. Then good attitude and disposition. This one is a very, very interesting one. Like they will say, attitude is everything, right? So let's even start from confidence. So a lot of people, I know you are nervous already when you're in an interview. You want to get it right. One thing I do as a recruiter most of the time is I tell you, calm down, drink water, it's not that deep. I just want to get to know you actually so that I'll get the best of you. But it's also important for you as the person on the other side of the seat to have the right attitude. Don't be nervous. Is either a yes or no. And if it's a no, you would have taken learnings from that place. So, and during this interview process, there are lots of cues you give. Some people, you ask them a particular question, the way their face will change. I already know that there's a problem. A practical example, I shared something like that on my page this last week. A Gen Z, I was interviewing the Gen Z for a role. Sorry, I don't have anything against Gen Z, I'm a millennial, but it is what it is. And I asked, so what do you bring to the table? I mean, we hire you, what should we expect? What's the value part? And the lady answered me and said, I am the table. I was confused, like, this is not Twitter, my dear. What do you bring to the table? You tell me what you're that for your relationship talk. So that alone in itself, or a candidate that he said something we didn't hear on the panel and we said, oh, sorry, we didn't get that. Can you take that again? And the guy said, you were not listening when I was talking. Everybody just kept quiet and we let him finish. After the interview, and I asked the hiring manager, the HOD, what were your thoughts? The guy knows the work, no doubt, but that guy is going to beat me if you hire him. I mean, it would not have cost you anything to repeat the question you were asked. So the attitude, you already should be able to pick from just that short interaction that he's going to be an impatient person. He just looked and said, you are not listening when I spoke, in short. So we all kept quiet. So these are the little things, even when they correct you, even if you feel maybe offended in one thing the recruiter has said or the other, just calm down. Don't portray yourself in a particular light or misrepresent yourself. So these are the things beyond the what skills, do you know Java, do you know JS, do you know how many years of selling experience, what has been your revenue, HR, can you do performance management, can you recruit? Beyond all of that, there are other things in the brackets of organizational behaviors that the recruiter is looking at. I can see somebody saying, I'm on the table. Yeah, so you need to be mindful of all these things. So as a fresh graduate, when it comes to recruiting or interviewing fresh graduates, one thing that I've noticed over and over again is fresh graduates try to cram everything they find on social media. And they come and pour it down. You see those videos you've watched on YouTube. If they ask you this is the way you say it. I once interviewed a candidate virtually, and it was obvious he was reading from his jotter, line by line. Line by line. It got to a point I just have to tell him when he missed one line. I'll tell him, take your time, look at it, reorganize it. Because at that point I was bored out of my mind. It was a recruitment for fresh graduates. I don't expect you to have that much experience. So it's not that deep. Sometimes what stands out for me in some fresh graduate recruitment is how they are even able to act like human beings, if that's the word I'll use. Some people interview like robots, and you practically say the same thing every other person would say. I remember when I was going to join my former organization, USA Foods, and it was a group interview. So we were like 20, and we asked to just briefly stand up and say something about ourselves. I was number 16, and everybody before me had said everything I had planned from the internet. I was sweating, my suit would feel the heat. And so I was already intimidated. And when I stood up, because you had ever said everything, I crammed. And I think the question was, why would you like to join the company or something like that? When it got to my class number 16, they said it all. I just said, okay, I believe I would. I also said what I've learned, what I've crammed. And I ended it by saying, and by the way, who would not be excited to join a company that will give you free gala and ice cream? I remember clearly that one of the people on the panel, she was pressing her phone because I'm sure she was bored already. I mean, everybody has said immediately I said, who would not want to eat free gala and ice cream? She dropped her phone and she looked up. So that is exactly what happens to we recruiters. Everybody's coming to say the same thing over and over again. Sometimes all you just need is a little bit of expressing that you have a personality and you are not a robot. So let's put down the cramming, let it rest. Sometimes what you just need to even talk about as a fresh graduate might just be, like I remember once talking about, oh, I've always wanted to do HR, I did CIPM, but I've not got the opportunity to travel, to practice. So I've been interviewing all my dad's friends' driver for them and asking them questions. And that felt like, oh, okay, at least, I mean, she has a plan towards getting the experience in this space. So it's important, don't be a robot, bring in your personality to the interview. Most of the time we are bored speaking to 1 million people. We want to see you, your person, and how your personality would sort of make the environment easier. Also, clarity of career direction. So many people, your HR lady, I'm looking for a job. Oh, really? What kind of job? At this point, any job. I just smile, I'm like, oh, I got you. I don't got you. Any job doesn't exist. The barest minimum you can do for yourself as a professional is even to identify the career path. I'm talking about fresh graduates, even if it's 2. You can tell me, oh, I don't know yet, but I'm tending more towards sales or maybe customer service, and here is why, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So I know what I'm looking for. If you tell me any job, I say, okay, and I move on. I'm never getting back to you because I don't have any job in my backseat. Also, so in interviewing, how we look at all of those things. So when they ask you, where do you see yourself? That's even a very funny question. When you ask people, where do you see yourself in 3-5 years? Some people will tell me how they want to be married. And yeah, that's not why you're here. When I ask you as a recruiter that kind of question, I'm not asking you about your marriage. I'm asking you about the job. So I want to hear things around, okay, I want to have learned on the job, probably be approaching supervisory role. I want to take courses in this space, have a mentor to guide me. So that is really, it's not just a question. Of course, we don't all know where we'll be tomorrow. So it's not just a question we ask for accent's sake. Sometimes I've even interviewed candidates that in answering that question, I was able to sense that with what this candidate has answered, this role is too small for him or her. I'm interviewing you for maybe a financial analyst role. And I ask you, where do I see you in 3 to 5 years? And this lady tells me, okay, currently I've been doing all of this. I have done CFA, I've done this, I've done that. I'm also being mentored by somebody. In my current role, I relieve my CFO. In the next 3 to 5 years, I see myself stepping into the shoes of a CFO. I called the lady after that. I'm sorry, I'm not going to offer you this role. She was like, oh, did she do something? I said, no, you didn't do anything because you'll be grossly dissatisfied. This role you interviewed for will report to somebody, and somebody even reports to CFO. So she's doing everything right. She's equipping herself with the required skills and everything needed for the job. So if I bring her into that job, she'll probably be looking for the next job within the next 2 to 3 months, or she'll be dissatisfied. So that helps us. If I'm interviewing somebody and in my succession plan, I want you to be my CFO in the next 3 years, and I ask you 3 to 5 year plan, and you're telling me you want to switch career or something totally different from what I expect, definitely you won't get the job. So you have to have clarity on your career direction. I can't overemphasize the need for coaching and mentoring. They help us get this kind of clarity when you're confused. Also, she talked about being teachable and willing to learn. Take corrections. Some candidates will ask you after interview, is there anything I could have done better or this, or even reach out back end for feedback. When I'm able to give, I give. But the truth is, you might never be able to give one-on-one feedback to every candidate. Sometimes you have lots of people you've spoken to. But even as individuals, you know the areas where you didn't feel so comfortable in when you were responding. So pay attention to that. And when they even correct you about things during interview sessions, be open, don't take it personal. Yes, I know sometimes we recruiters could be a little bit aggressive, or like some people will say, recruiters behave like mini God. I understand, no problem. But just take the feedback and work on it. It will help you be a better person in the next interview. Be flexible and adaptable. So, especially now that there are lots of, the employees have become king, opportunities are endless. Like Emmanuel said, somebody once asked that, okay, so this role I'm applying for, great candidate, he was already sure we're probably going to hire him. And he asked, is it remote, is it hybrid, and all of that. So I told him, okay, you'll be given the opportunity to do hybrid, but in our letters, we put the normal 8 to 5, meaning, yes, hybrid, but I mean, work can come up and you might get called in on a day you should be working from home. And the way his face changed, like, then it's not hybrid, it's not, I mean, your response should typically be, oh, it would have been great to have an hybrid work situation. However, I'm open if there's work exigency and I need to come in, I'll be able to do that. But you suddenly just change face and you're throwing tantrum. It makes nonsense of every other skill that we've been able to pick in you as a candidate. On the long run, these things are flexible, especially for an organization that said they do hybrid. But of course, I'll still want to put it out there to you to say it's hybrid, but anything can happen. And on the day you're supposed to be working remotely, you might be called in. So be flexible, be adaptable. Some people will get in, and I've worked with someone before that asked her to do the slightest of things. She said, no, that's not why you people hired me. That's not why people hired me. And then there's promotion and she's not promoted and she's complaining everywhere. If you don't want to do beyond what you are hired for, how do I assess you for potential? She's good at the current job she's doing, but every opportunity to take on something extra, that is not why you hired me. Or if you want me to do it, you pay me more. How do I assess you for potential? Then how do I promote you? To where? So these are the things you need to begin to take a look at to achieve career success. Be passionate and enthusiastic. For me, yes, truth be told, even beyond how you talk about your job, you can test passion. My BSc, my MSc are not from anything related to HR. I have BSc and MSc in geography. But the moment I said I wanted to do HR, this is the space I'm going into, I picked up CIPM. I'm talking to people, I'm engaging people. But you are telling me in the next 2 years, you want to see yourself as CFO. And I'm asking you questions around what professional network or organization do you belong to? Have you done ACCA? And you practically done nothing. I can't see the passion. So even if you can cram and pour down every accounting model or process or everything, I can't see, because your passion will drive your need to learn. It will drive your growth. And if your passion is not big enough to fuel your growth and development. In this new generation, organizations are looking for people with a growth mindset. How do I test growth mindset? How open are you? How self-led are you towards developing yourself? So you have an interest in customer service. What are you doing about it? You've only written it on your CV. Customer service enthusiast. Excellent. How enthusiastic are you then? So you need to pay attention to all of these things. It should not take a lot of our time because this topic in itself cannot be exhausted. This is a fantastic book. Aside it goes on to talk about how you search for a job, how you communicate your value even from your resume, and several other things. Okay, I can see some people have questions. I know you one day would attend to that because of our time. So I hope I've been able to just give you a bit of insight as to what we are looking at. Beyond your technical skills, beyond your qualifications, there is more that we are trying to assess you for. Thank you so much once again, Yewande.
Thank you so much, Adewumi, for this. I've learned a lot myself. Even sometimes I wonder, is it this book that you're actually talking about? But the essence of this is for you to also share your own experience, which you have. And I hope I hope the audience here, they're actually taking notes. I am taking note myself, right? I learned she has like the stair. So everyone knows the star. Now there's an E. And one thing you need to take notes, that E, she said, an enabler that gives you, I think that you have leverage on to let you know that you can do this again. So if you didn't take anything away from this, please take that away. After saying the R, right, that's E that lets you know that I've done this before, because people hire you for, you've done this before and you can actually do it again, right? Thank you so much, Adeomi, for this. If you've not gotten a copy of your book, go and order. If you are not even in Nigeria, you can order on Amazon. So there's no excuse. If you can't even order online, you say, okay, you don't want to pay the delivery fee. You can order on Roving Heights. You can go to Roving Heights bookstore, walk in. You can go to Latena, walk into the store. Let's say you don't have the delivery money. You can go to any of those stores and order. You can also order online and then they can deliver. If you're out, I think if you're even outside Lagos, like you can order on Roving Heights or Latena as well, right? Thank you so much. And then one thing she mentioned, right? I think YF put a post that promotion happens when you're already doing the work and then they just make it official. I can relate because I have someone that if you give this person a task, they ask me like, where's the extra money? And I'm like, Auntie, how would I know you can do this thing? I will promote you first, then you do it. You will do it, and then I can see that, okay, this person can do it. And then you now get, for a good, stable organization that doesn't want to cheat you. If you're in an organization that no matter how much you kill yourself, they won't still promote you, that's a different case. But there are really good organizations that they just want to see the potential there and they would allow you move forward. So many things to learn from the speakers, right? I will move to the last but not the least. This topic then, pitfalls to avoid in your career. Terry is someone that transitioned into HR. I love her career path, right? And a lot of people, I don't know, I would love her to share. A lot of people want to transition to HR at a senior level, but then have to pay the price. But I've seen her profile, she's transitioned, and she's not just transitioned, she's owned the space, right? And so she would share things you should not do and based on the book as well as from our own experience. So let's, with a round of applause, let's welcome Teju Fola Alade.
Thanks, Yewande. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I've also been jotting right from Emmanuel to Mrs. Funke to Adeomi, right? I'm also learning. And so before I go into my conversation, Yewande, I went through your book just today. It's been a crazy week for me. And I was like, oh, I don't want to talk about my topic without having an idea what the other chapters are about. And I have to say that you need to get this book out there. I don't know how you're going to do it, especially you literally don't have to read the entire book. The way you highlighted each section, each has its subtopic, and you can have an idea what the book is about. So well done. It's really all inclusive. And I think it's something that will be beneficial. It doesn't matter what level or what career level you are. It's quite, I will also be buying more. Like Emmanuel said, when alert comes in by the end of the month, right? And gift some of my staff as well. So for the topic, pitfalls, right? So this can actually either happen whether you're in the system or you just got the job or you're already existing in the system and you're looking at transitioning. But there are certain mistakes that we all tend to make at some point in our careers that can actually jeopardize or derail the entire career path. And I'm going to start with the Naira signs. Emmanuel spoke about negotiation, and I was able to align with a lot of what he's saying. But I also wanted to put a caveat, right? There's a statement we make. I think there's this group of senior executives. When you're negotiating, there's this phrase based on, there was a guy that we interviewed at some point. He finished from the university and he was an intern. And of course, we just asked him, how much are you looking to earn? And he said 2.8 M. And everyone was like, okay, yeah, he's a tech bro. He did, I think, software engineer, but that was like last year. No, 2021, early 2021. And he said 2.8 M. And everybody was like, based on, right? So for him, 2.8 was wild as a 2021 early. I mean, we all just got caught up in the tech, rave within the last few months. So one of the mistakes I've seen a lot of people make is prioritizing the Naira signs, prioritizing the figures. It's good, but the people that are taking the cash home didn't start by focusing on the cash, especially at the early stage of your career. You need to build that content. There's something Yemi Fashion says, authenticity. That actual value that will help you walk into an interview room and just say 2 million, no negotiation. You need to build that first. It's not about going to an expensive university, or do you know how much my father paid for my school? Do you know how many summers I attended while I was in the university? Or do you know how much I've invested? I just finished a course in Harvard. As a result, I deserve to add this 800,000 naira extra to my salary negotiation. So build the value first, right? The first question you should ask yourself, this position I'm taking, because the reality is sometimes there are some organizations that just have that pay structure already. You're coming in, you're going to earn, let's say 220,000 naira. And then there's another organization that they can only pay you 120. Of course, I expect that maybe at a level or based on your need, you want to focus on the one that is saying 220. But the question you want to ask yourself is, what would I be doing in the one of 220? It's a hard sell, but you want to be sure that you're building relevant skills that will be relevant to you when you leave that position, because it's possible for you to work to earn 220,000, but that may not necessarily be the benchmark for you. Because ultimately, if you go to the next interview and they say, oh, tell us about what you did, your career trajectory, behavioral scenarios, interviews, and you can't really exactly say the things you've done of quality, you can't justify the 220. They will just say, we'll get back to you. But a place where, oh, how much am I going to be earning? 120, and you're doing so much, like you're building so much value, you can move from 120, you'll be surprised, to 500. It happens, it has happened. It has happened to me, right? I've moved almost 100% above because I've already built the skill sets. So while the money is good, don't get too focused. I'll give an example. So last week, someone reached out to me. She got 2 job offers. And the first one was like a head of unit position with, well, not so progressive in organization, progressive, but not as much as the second offer she got, which was actually the one she wanted. But that one, it was lower in job title, but the pay grade was the same. And she was confused. She said, oh, she wants that second one. They didn't respond to her request on time. And this new offer came, she wants to move. And I asked the question. I said, okay, the first one you got, what's the job title? It's higher. And it's a combination of 2 roles. The second one, I know the organization. Whatever you're going to be doing there, you're most likely going to be maintaining what is already happening. They just need someone to maybe oversee some programs that they're already running. You're most likely not going to shine. You're not going to be a crocodile in the Yangtze. You're most likely going to be a shark in the ocean. So if you're going to want to make, oh, I want to earn this, you have to really justify. But this other organization where the title is higher, it's putting you in the limelight. You must be able to show your achievements. You will build something, and if you're able to build it, you're literally going to, the way your career will jumpstart. I mean, as she saw the reason, she wanted to follow the money, but I said right now, the money will come because this first position will give you the opportunity to sell your skills to other organizations. I mean, another organization will most likely want to poach you because they see that you hold a higher role. For you to hold this role, that means you have a lot of value. While the other one is going to take a lot. There's nothing exceptional about the job title or what you're going to be doing. Knowing the organization, they already have a lot of programs you're just going to be managing. So money is good. It depends on your current state, but also look at the big picture, the end goal. Look at the bigger picture, have it in mind. Where do I want to go to? If I want to be a software engineer, you can't just jump into senior software engineer. You must have worked in very critical projects, built a lot of products that you say, oh, this is what I've done. And you'll be amazed that you saying that, oh, I've built a product, or I've built a product at, let's say, Amazon. That one product alone will help you catapult you into another career path or another organization that will pay you almost double. So please don't focus too much on money, because sometimes you will find yourself moving to another organization because they're adding 20,000 naira extra. Emmanuel spoke about that earlier. So just because you're earning, let's say 250,000 naira now, and another organization is telling you, we want to pay you 300,000 naira. It's not a fantastic move, really. So be very sure that you're going to be doing more. You're not jumping into fire, or you're not going to be, you have a bogus job title, but what you're going to be doing is not like what you're currently doing. So don't focus on the naira signs. And the second one is, don't get comfortable, right? Don't be complacent. Yewande stated that clearly. Don't get too comfortable in a role. I've seen a lot of people say, oh, I've been here for 6 months, I've been here for 1 year, I deserve a raise. Why? Based on, right? Every time you want to negotiate a value, you should be able to answer that question based on. So if you're saying, don't get too comfortable on a role, I'll use another example. There's a particular lady that I know that got a job offer, in fact, on a platter of gold, given to her by another organization, and she rejected it because according to her, where she is, she has already built, she has built reputation. They already know as a performer. There are a lot of people that suffer from that performance syndrome. They don't want to move to another organization because they are worried that they may not perform as much as they are doing in their current organization. So they stay. So they get complacent. They are not doing much. They are just managing what they built. But the reality is you're not growing. You're static. You're not learning anything new. So you're not adding new value. I think it was Adeomi that spoke about getting to a level where, or the shelf life of knowledge. Okay, I think it was Mrs. Funke, right? The shelf life of your knowledge in the organization. So don't get too comfortable. Sometimes don't let the money blind you. Sometimes you earn, you see that you're doing better than all your peers, and you suddenly get comfortable. You're not doing so much, and you just relax. Or you're not learning new things, you're not taking on, your CV is exactly the way it was when you applied exactly 1 year ago. No change, nothing. You're not learning anything new, right? So you don't want to get too comfortable. Just because you've been in a role for 1 year does not mean they are going to promote you. Apologies if we have anyone in civil service. If you intend to build your career in civil service, that's the only way. That place, yes, they can promote you because you have been there for 5 years. Is automatic promotion for you. But if you're going to work in any organization right now that is progressive, the kind of organization you want to work, those kind of organization that you want to have on your CV when you want to work in any of the FANG organizations, then you need to ensure that you're competing with the value of the company, so that God forbid they want to let go. It won't be a case of, please go and rewrite your job description. What exactly do you do? There are a lot of people that by the time, sometimes HR does it. I do that. When someone comes to me and say, oh, I deserve a raise, I've been here. I tell them to go and write what they do. I give them a template and I say, write your JD, tell me what you do. I don't even tell them to write the achievements. Tell me what you do. And you'll be amazed that some people have not come back because they are really thinking, what do I really do? What am I contributing to the business beyond what I'm told to do, right? So don't get too comfortable. And just like Yewande also said, sometimes we choose the wrong career path because it's the rave, it's the in thing. HR right now is like, hey, tech, everybody tech, bro. People want to do it because they hear that the money is bad. Yeah, software engineer, they are earning how much? Crazy, right? But the reality is you may not thrive there. In fact, I know someone who is currently at a senior level in a top organization in Nigeria, and she's currently on about a 4 weeks mental leave because she broke down. That she doesn't know what she's doing. She has no idea, right? And it's coming out because she has no interest, but she learned that position, that career path brings in money. So while you don't have to enjoy what you do at the early stage of your career, you want to soak like a sponge, right? You want to absorb as much knowledge as you can. As you grow in your career, you want to find a path that you actually look forward to going to work. There will be challenges, right? There will be problems, there will be issues that every day you probably get to your office space and you want to scream, but there are things you enjoy doing. You're able to solve, you're speaking with so much passion. So you want to choose a career path that aligns with an area of interest. And just like someone said to me 2 weeks ago, you must, even if you want to learn something different, you must learn something that complements your strengths. For instance, as an HR professional, except you have an engineering background, you studied software engineering, it will sound funny for you to want to transition to software engineering. It's doable if you have an engineering background, but it's going to take so much from you if you do not. Maybe you even struggle to the math stuff, like let my people go. You are D and you want to move to software engineering. It could be a struggle for you, right? So find a strength, a career path that already complements your strength. It was easy for me to move into human resources because I started my career in customer service. After a while, I moved to sales. So I'm used to experience, right? I'm used to managing people. I'm used to managing expectations. I'm used to managing experience. I'm used to managing results. So human resources was just something that complemented my strength. I mean, people see me and they say, before I move to HR, they tell me, oh, you actually should be in human resources, right? It was something I hear a lot. You should be in here. This is something you know how to negotiate, you know how to, it complemented the strength I already had. And it made sense for me eventually to move to that path. So choosing the wrong career path can actually derail you completely. And you find yourself struggling for so many years. Some people are getting promoted easily, and you are seriously still struggling to even meet the performance KPIs for the last quarter. Now, this particular point, it's not in the book, but it's something I even feel is so valuable. Be reliable and be adaptable. I'm going to speak to reliability. For someone like me, I'm rarely out there. I don't talk about my human resource competencies because I'm very certain that those are not the things that got me there. It helped that, yes, technically she's competent in human resources or the roles she has handled. But I'm also aware that the founders, the CEOs I've worked with, it has very little to do with my technical competencies. I don't think my CEO goes to bed saying, man, if Teju should handle rewards for you, or that forget it. I've never seen anyone that is strong in transformational projects as much as Teju. But one of the things that I've been able to help build my credibility right from my career stage is reliability. And reliability that I'm talking about is being available. Are you the kind of person that your boss can easily pick up their phone or call or send an email and they are sure that you're going to respond? I'll give you an instance. We used to have this, I've been in the tech startup space for the past 10 years, and there was a board of investors meeting that was happening some years back in the UK, and they needed data, staff analytics data. This meeting was happening in the nights, about 10 p.m., 11 p.m. thereabouts. And we had, of course, our CEO, some directors. So they were like, oh, we'll wait till tomorrow. But of course, the CEO was very impatient that we should be able to get this thing tonight. That I can bet that if I send Teju a WhatsApp message, she will respond, right? And he sent the message, even though he was apologizing, I'm sorry. You know the way CEO sometimes they say, you don't have to respond to this now. You can respond to this tomorrow. I'm just putting it, I'm in a meeting with, and said, if you could send it to me tomorrow, maybe before 9 a.m., it would be awesome. Of course, I saw that message and honestly, I couldn't resist. I still turned on my laptop and I sent him the message. It was one of the directors that was there when he got to Nigeria that said that he could bet that he mentioned it in that office, in that room, and that stuck. And I noticed that after then, when people need information, swift data, swift responses, they send it to me. Sometimes I'm not the one they want to reach out to. They want to reach out to somebody else. but they will send it to me because they are 100% sure that I'm going to respond. That's reliability. There are some people that once it's 5 p.m., you can't speak to them again. You can't reach them. I used to have a colleague like that, and it derailed her career. At least it set it back. By the time some of us were moving to, she had to eventually leave, but she was someone that nobody could reach. Once she's saying goodbye and she steps out of the office, oh my God, let me call this person. I think she forgot. You can't reach her. We used to think, you know, we're worried, maybe they stole her phone. Then she said it casually one time in passing, I beg, I have other things I'm doing. I mean, no one wants to work with someone that you can't. Of course, you have your me time, right? It's personal, but you should be reliable. It's a thing. And as you grow in your career, you find out that it's not about the technical competencies that will get you promoted, right? Those are the things that Mrs. Funke mentioned earlier, the EPIC, emotional, political, intellectual, and cultural. Just add intelligence to all those 4 things. Emotional intelligence, political intelligence, intellectual intelligence, and cultural intelligence. You've been able to read the room. If you have a spontaneous or like someone who is very hands-on, maybe a CEO or a line manager, and they want to get something and you know that this person will reach me, then you need to be available. Some people don't respond to their emails on time. You need to give them 24 hours, some 2 business days, right? What are the things that my line manager, and those are the questions you can also ask your line manager. How do you want to lead? Or how would you like me? Is it that you want me to be checking in on you? What's your best mode of communication? Calls, text message? How would you want feedback? Do you want me to be giving you updates every day before I go home? Or do you want me to give you at the end of every week? Be reliable and be adaptable. Sometimes the organization introduces change and everybody can see your face. As they're talking about the change, you're already shaking your head. And you're already doing like this, and it's so visible, so glaring. Anytime they're introducing change, the way you are frowning your face, you know, you have to be adaptable, especially if you want to work in all these progressive companies. There's nothing, it's not like, oh, but this was how we used to do things. It will change because as the business finds its bearing, as the business tries to understand that, oh, this is what would make our business sustainable, they will keep on trying new things, right? So be reliable, be adaptable, be someone that people, and once people can rely on you, it also increases your credibility ratio, right? You find yourself that it will even catapult you further than, oh, this person is good in payroll computation, or if this person analyzes data for you, right? So, and also, this is also important. It speaks to the first. Sometimes at the early stage of your career, like I said, you need to be able to absorb, be like sponge, soak as much as possible. Do not overestimate your value. Yes, I know you have maybe 14 motivational speakers you're listening to, and they tell you that just say it, just say it. You also have to be objective. What are you bringing to the table? Just like Adewumi said, what are the things you're able to offer? You can negotiate based on those values. Don't say because, oh, my friend said that he negotiated a pay raise of 800,000 in his organization, me too, I'll do the same. The question is, you're not, are you providing the same value? Sometimes you two people, you're doing the same thing in job description, but you are not offering the same value. That's what differentiates how you earn eventually. So sometimes you're, oh, we are doing the same thing. They're not paying me what this person. Are you doing what this person is doing? Are you someone that when your line manager calls you, you pick your phone? Are you the person that when it's time to do, when they say, can someone help us with, or a project, who will lead this project? That's when you'll be typing on your phone. Do not overestimate your value. It's very common with a lot of Gen Zs now, right? Oh, because it's the raver, this is what I want to know. You must be objective to say that, because it even helps you if you know that, what to think of it. I'm the only one doing this in this team. I'm the only one doing this. I'm the only one doing this. So that means that you should be able to negotiate based on that. I feel I deserve a pay raise because I've discovered that in the team, I'm currently the one providing the monthly the reports that you present to the board or to the senior management team. I'm the one responsible for. So you know your value. So the way you know your value when you want to earn more is the way you should know your value when you know you do not deserve more. Like a quote I saw yesterday or this morning, don't try and reap where you do not sow, right? Be realistic, be objective. And very important, I think this is the last one. Try not to burn bridges. I've seen this play out over and over and over again. You're leaving, so I don't know who saw that intern, ASU intern that resigned and said submit law because ASU called the strike. That was the person's resignation message. Oh yeah, submit law, maybe to the line manager or something. For that person, you already assume that they don't have anything. But life has a way. Didn't they say the world is round? What goes around would eventually come around. I've seen that happen. I've seen a lot of people burn bridges and they need to go, especially with this jackpot thing. How do you spend 6-7 years in an organization and you want to burn bridges? Won't you need that experience if you're traveling out or anything, right? So you don't want to burn bridges. Sometimes things don't go well. So if things are so bad that you cannot work with an organization, don't burn bridges. Just because the person did not serve you well in this particular organization does not mean there's something called nuisance value. Every one of us, we have our nuisance value. So you may have a line manager that is so wicked, so mean according to you, but they will have nuisance value. They may not be valuable to you at the organization, but they have nuisance value that they can help you maybe much later. They can put in a word. And I'm going to give an instance. I was recently recruiting for a leadership role in my organization, and I reached out to someone on LinkedIn, and of course, the person spoke all the right English. I mean, they talked the big game, really powerful CV. But the question is, the person spoke about a particular organization they worked that was raving. Oh, so I worked here, it was amazing. But at the back of my mind, I kept thinking, so why did you leave? And all that. Of course, the person said, because I wanted something more challenging. You know what? I knew one of the directors of the company. It's a multinational. And I just chatted the person on WhatsApp. Hey, do you know this person? So yeah, I know the person. How would you describe this person? And of course, the person sang like a canary. That is how small the world is, especially with human resources. Every human resource person in the organization probably belongs to 1 or 2 or 3 human resource groups. So be rest assured that for every candidate that we are interested in hiring, we are dropping that name somewhere with 1 or 2 persons. How far with this person? Good to go or not good to go? So they will say, don't touch it. You know, so you want to be careful. Don't burn bridges. Keep it polite. Exit interview, while I appreciate sincerity, keep it clean, right? Give feedback, but do it constructively. This is not the time to let me say my mind. All the rubbish you people have been doing, you're just calling me, you know. Say your mind, but say it constructively, because there are still people in that system. So that's it. Keep it neat, keep it simple, and most importantly, throw your pride away. Resigning, joining a company, whatever you're learning, you know, have a continuous learning spirit as well. Don't let your CV challenge yourself every 6 months, have something new to add to your CV. Every 6 months. Your CV should not be the same. When you joined, they now say, please send us your CV. We didn't save the one you sent to us. And you sent the same CV that you sent when you wanted to interview for the job. So every 6 months, have something new. There are new courses on LinkedIn, Udemy, Coursera, you know. So rejuvenate your CV with new courses every time. And I think with these pitfalls, once you're able to avoid them, you should be able to build an intentional career and also build lifelong relationships that will serve you in the near or long future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Like this session has been packed. Thank you so much, Teju, for if you've learned something, please drop something in the comment box. I don't think you've I don't think you lasted like 10 or 15 minutes here and you won't like have written so many things. I have written a lot of things. Thank you so much, Teju, for this. So I know we actually have 20 minutes because I have another meeting by 4 o'clock. So we can't exit 4 o'clock. We want to answer the questions, but I also plan to say some things. I'll try and say it in like 5 minutes because this book was written last year and Reliving Your Career 1 year after. Like I say, if I were to write version 2 of this book, there's so many things I would want to say. But in the next 5 minutes, I would like to say something. And if I had to add a chapter to this book, I would add a chapter like experience. I was saying from my experience, I would talk about intentional visibility. I follow someone on Instagram and LinkedIn where she's like the LinkedIn visibility queen. That's just social media visibility. This one is workplace visibility. And I would like to just say it in the next 5 max 10 minutes because of time. I actually do have a meeting. Now, one mistake we make, or one thing we're not intentional about in the workplace is when we do amazing work, we are very humble, like we underestimate, don't overestimate, like she said, but if you are intentional about what you want to do, also acknowledge it, right? So there was something I did, between last year and now, and it has helped me grow financially as well. When I also wanted to negotiate, I joined an organization and I wrote down what I wanted to achieve in 6 months. Like I was writing it as an achievement, even at week 1. And so when I did all of these things, so yeah, my JD is there. HR, you are doing this, you're doing that. But when you join a new organization or you are in an existing organization, every 3 months, have a journal. See, journaling is the best thing, one of the best things that has happened to me in my career. And that's what helped me write this book. I said I wrote it in 2 years. I always write what I'm doing. So as I'm doing these things, I'm very intentional about check-ins with my boss. Most people are fighting with our boss saying, I don't like her, blah, blah, blah. Mrs. F.A. has said something. And if you are not here when Mrs. F.A. said this, we're going to share the recording. Emotional, political intelligence and cultural, just add intelligence to it. Now, your boss has a way he or she works. And sometimes they don't send you. So if you are doing something, send yourself, right? So I'm saying I've done this thing. They didn't send me a message. And I'm checking my boss. Boss, I did this thing. I'm doing our check-in. Even if most bosses don't usually schedule check-ins, if they don't, schedule it with them, even if it's every 2 weeks. I did this thing. What do you think about it? Oh, I liked it. Okay. Do you have feedback for me on how I could have done it better? No, I don't have feedback for you. I think you did an amazing work. Well done. I look forward to seeing more. I know what I'm doing. I do another thing, right? I don't just do it and allow someone, everyone is taking credit. Oh, my team and I, we organized this thing, or I noticed this problem in the organization and I solved it. Do you have any feedback? I'm constantly getting feedback. So I'm not doing what I think this organization wants, right? My work or my value is aligned with what the organization needs. So I'm asking, where are you going to? What's the business? I've been reporting to like CEOs and co-founders, so it's very important. Because HR, they always see you as cost center now. I'm always, where's the business going to? How can I help you get better? So even if they don't tell me, I'm doing it, and I'm letting them know that I did this, I did that. Give me feedback. Now, what this helps you is if you have not estimated your value after 6 months or 3 months or 1 year, you are not oblivious. You are not having to read your CV for them and saying, in the past 1 year, I've done this, even though, if you are coming to negotiation, I've already written those things down. But if you are coming there, you are saying, boss, in the past 6 months, you are aware of what I'm doing. They already are preparing. Sometimes they are the ones having these conversations because there's consciously competent and unconsciously competent. I am consciously competent. So you need to get to that level that you are competent and you are conscious about it. They don't want to lose you. I always say this thing, my first salary with a 2-1 in engineering was 15,000 naira. Every month they increased my salary. Why? I didn't want to take it. It was my husband that said, just I don't take it. And I came, I was consciously competent. And they looked at this girl like, this girl is going. We know that we don't have money and that's why she took it, but we want to keep her. So every month, even if it's changed, they're adding. right? So for that person who stayed at home, I say, I'll take 15,000, in 6 months, I've made what you are earning, right? So be consciously competent, especially if you're a high flyer. If you are, there are some people that I don't blame them. Like I learned from someone that some people are just, they don't care. They just want to be there. They don't want to grow in their career, right? That's my alarm ringing. They don't want to grow in their career. So if you are like that person, just stay there, don't complain. But if you want to grow, be visible and not eye service visibility, actually make an impact and take credit for your work. So this is my own contribution to reliving your career. If I were to add one chapter to this book, I would talk about how I was consciously competent and I helped myself grow faster than what other people would think. So now we have 15 more minutes. We would like to go to the questions. I don't want to say what everyone has said because they've done. Like, let's give a round of applause, from Faith Emmanuel to Adewumi to Effie to Teju, like you all have done, amazing work. And I'm so grateful for taking out time. This should be like a paid session. When you guys are talking, I'm like, this is a lot. This is a lot. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. I've learned from all of you individually, and I really appreciate this. So someone asked the question. Let me go from, if you dropped the question, please drop it again. I just want to not forget. So one person asked, this is Julia's question, as an entry level in human resource career path, what are the things I can do to navigate my way? Any of the speakers, you want to answer that in like 1 minute or so? I can answer, or okay, let me just answer. If you're an entry-level HR person to navigate your way, Tejo has already answered. I don't know who said it. Be a sponge. I have somebody in my team, right? And she just won Employee of the Month on Friday. I love her because she's a sponge. There are people that there are people that are teachable. So if you're an entry-level person and you want to navigate your way, be teachable. I studied chemical engineering. There's nothing related to HR. So when people say, oh, people don't take me because I did study HR, right? So learn, be a sponge, be hungry for knowledge and try to practice. I think that's how you can navigate your way. 2, consciously build a network. HR is a field that there are so many experienced people that don't even have the job. So if positions open, they rather take the experience because there are so many people waiting in line. If you are just coming in, if you want someone to give you an opportunity, show them a bit of value. You can't volunteer, you can, go for events and just show something that, yeah, I'm someone you should take a chance on. That's one thing I would say. Another question is, what tips, put through advice would you give? It's like HR people are here. Would you give an HR officer on a new role with no prior experience? What does he or she need to do to have a great onboarding experience? I think the speakers have already talked about this. But to have a great onboarding experience, what Mrs. Effie said, right? I think that's the answer to your question. If you are here, she talked about EPIC, emotional intelligence, feel the atmosphere, political. Who are the who's in these? Who are the people you should not offend? Who are the people that hold the power, right? I think that those are the things you should know. If you don't know anything in that first week, know the people, right? They are the people and they are the people. Know those people, right? And it talk about intellectual too and cultural. I think that answers the question. I think that's what you need to do to have a great onboarding experience. Someone says, I resumed a graduate training role some weeks ago in one of the big 4 while I'm trying to make a good first impression by taking on every job assigned to me and doing diligently. I don't know how to combine this with lots of compulsory training with deadlines without one affecting the other. As someone who's just starting out, what would you advise that I do? Who wants to answer this? Bumi, do you want to answer? I can answer, but like let someone else say something.
Hello, okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so the key thing is time management, because I'm not clear as to, okay, the tasks, they're in the office, the trainings, the compulsory trainings too, are they also in the office? If both are, well, the job is from the office, but the training, I don't know that much. But the critical thing would be for you to manage your time so much. You are being trained to actually increase or make your job better. So one shouldn't suffer for the other, particularly your job. I mean, nobody wants to hear the excuse you were doing training. That's why there was a short performance in one of the tasks assigned to you. So manage your time properly, find the balance, but don't let your work suffer. Your work takes priority over any other thing.
Thank you. So someone asked, being reliable in an environment that can push anything to you, how do you balance this and remain productive? Teddy, do you want to throw more light on this?
All right. So for me, I would just say that if you're being thrown a lot of tasks, there's a possibility that you have shown yourself as reliable. However, it still ties to what Adeomi said, having balance. So if you have things thrown at you and you're delivering, right, they keep giving you, you keep giving them response. It's good because it puts your competence into the lights. However, you also want to be sure that you're not taking on too much. So when you're giving, maybe you're thrown a task, you want to be clear on what you have to deliver, right? Let's say, for instance, your line manager says, oh, Teju, please, or Temitope, please, can you have this done? Sure, I'm currently still working on so and so. I should be done by the evening. Can I complete that before I get to this? So that way you're making it clear that it's not that I'm free, because the truth is, sometimes in some organizations, once they see that you're pressing your phone, they just feel that you don't have anything you're doing again. So you want to be clear that you have something you're doing, or they see that maybe you spend extra 10 minutes in the kitchenette, or you're on the phone speaking with someone and you're laughing. This person is not busy. So when you're giving a task, it's good, show your competence. But after a while, oh, I'm currently working on, remember, I'm still working on this. Is it okay if I finish that, or would you like me to prioritize this one now? So that way it's clear that, oh, I'm working on something. It's not like I'm free. Then they will now be the ones to say, okay, finish with that. Or so the key is just to be clear that you have tasks you're working on, and the line manager or the superior colleague could just tell you that, okay, finish that or prioritize this one.
Yeah, like I said, managing expectations is very key. Now, for my next alarm rings, I actually do have a training by 4. Why do most HR in organizations shy away from their employees' empathy? This question, I don't know how to answer. I think it's a personal question. So I wouldn't say most anyway. I think you should ask the HR that, or just speak constructively, give feedback, right? If it's an environment that thrives on feedback anyway, that they'll know which one to you. If you feel like you've been unjustly treated, rather than bottling it up, I would advise that you at least say, okay, this is how I feel, and I would like you to do this and that. I think that's how I'll answer your question. But HR, emotional intelligence is one of the things you should have, and empathy is also ingrained in that. So yeah, I transitioned to HR some months back, and I was lucky getting a remote job as a recruitment officer for a recruitment firm. I intend writing a process exam by December, but I realized that all of the companies hiring for HR roles prefer a generalist. How do I move forward when I don't even have generalist experience? So there are specialists and there are generalists. Yes, majority are looking for generalists because people want to save costs. Generalists can do a lot, right, than specialists, but does not mean that there are no opportunities for specialists. I think in the global space, people are they are appreciating recruiters more. So I would say, like, don't give up. I even see some roles that they're looking for an HR generalist with recruitment experience. So try to be a sponge. I believe that if you're starting out your career, try to learn everything and then specialize. Start being a generalist, then a specialist. But sometimes it's opportunity. You may have not had the opportunity to be a generalist, and that's why you're being a specialist. But in where you are, how are you maximizing that? Fine, I say yours is recruitment, but if you see other things, I've worked in a place where I was a recruiter. Actually, I was a full-time recruiter. But guess what? I pitched it to the HR director that we don't even have any engagement activities here. Everybody's just work. Why don't we do Health Week? If my colleague is here, she will know. I was the first person I introduced Health Week. And I said I was going to plan it from the beginning to the end, the whole week. So I created a department called an engagement stuff. So I gave myself work because I wanted it to be in my CV. Like I wanted that. So that you especially does not mean that wherever you are, you cannot create opportunities for yourself. Don't limit yourself to your JD. If you know where you're going to, contribute and say, I have this idea, give me the work. Don't worry, I'm not complaining. I know what I want. Me and you, fellow recruiters, but I know the same journey, right? So that is my advice to you. And, you know, said also volunteer to build experience. I think that's the solution. So in the absence of this, we have 5 more minutes before my other alarm goes. I think you all can prepare for your Monday. I would like to say thank you. We've answered the question. Vote of thanks is next. I would like to say thank you to everyone. If you've not gotten a copy of your book, right, go to Latena, go to Roving Heights. Timmy can post a link. Please get a copy, not for yourself alone. If you have, you know, graduates around you, mid-level, again, this book is not just for entry-level graduates, it's for mid-level, senior. You can relate to it at any level because it's well structured. Like I took time to structure the book very well. And it's something that you can also go back to. It's not a book you read one off. You read it, maybe it's not too big, and then you just remember that, oh, I need something, let me go check this handbook. Something you keep at the top, the one you can see, because you would always need to go back to it. So please do get yourself a copy. And please, in the comment section, please let's celebrate our speakers. Like, they've done a lot. They've done a lot. They said a lot. Let's celebrate our speakers. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone that has joined. If you've learned something, please go to Twitter, go to Instagram, follow them. Let me even drop their handle. Let me, I can't even remember. Please drop your handle in the comment section so that they can follow you, because people drop amazing content and they are fans. They might just be forming humility here. I'm Teju's fan, I'm Wumi's fan, I'm Zemi's FA's fan, I'm Emmanuel's fan as well. So please follow them on social media. Drop what you've learned in this session, post it on LinkedIn, tag them, post it on Instagram, tag them, let them know that they've added value to you today. So this is where we close the session, and have a wonderful week ahead.